Hey friends, I'm Henry with BrainStormAcres. I came up here to the greenhouse. Irene's still down in the studio. You know, it's about 200 feet from her studio here to the greenhouse, so she doesn't hear me coming up here for a whole lot of reasons. One is, a lot of times she's bashing away with a hammer or running the grinders or polishing equipment. It makes a lot of noise, and she has music playing in her hearing aid, so she just doesn't notice when I come up, unless I really stop and go in and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I'm here." Didn't do that today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. The fuel pump has just started. I'm going to go see if I have any smoke blowing. No smoke blowing at all. And the heater's starting to warm up. Taking this heater apart is pretty simple as long as some of these fittings aren't jammed on. This heater had a feeding jam, this one doesn't, so it's coming apart just fine. Now this little piece of plastic right here is supposed to be a high temperature silicone, but it isn't. So this heater starts smelling when it heats up because this rubber material is right up against the exhaust fitting, and that means that when this exhaust fitting gets hot, it starts melting this plastic. So I'll have to see what I'm going to do about that. The case is injected molded plastic. It has a CE mark on it, but it doesn't have some regulatory approvals for use in home heating. So I don't recommend you to use these in a home. If you do, that's up to you. The unit says it's 8 kilowatts, but I'm not sure that that actually is going to work as an 8 kilowatt heater, and we can talk about that in a later show. You may have heard me say that this is a simple machine, and the answer is it really is simple. Right here is the glow plug. That's simply a resistance heater that is used to heat the diesel fuel to where it will ignite. Here is a temperature sensor, and what that does is tell the computer that's in this box right here when the temperature is getting too hot, or in the case of the cool down cycle, when the temperature of this casting has gotten to be too warm and it needs to turn the fan back on. Fuel to the heater comes in from this tube right here comes down around and goes directly into a burn chamber. Now this casting is a duplicate. You know, in the old days you'd say a Chinese copy, and this is really what it is. This is a copy of a commercially available product that was designed in Germany. It works very, very well. At least the German versions do. The casting is quite good. There's some surface roughness which will be fine. I think that's going to help with the heat transfer. The way the heater works, the fan blows air from the inlet back across the entire heater. It blows across this set of fins that's on the back side of the burn chamber. But it also has a little bit of bleed air. That's just a portion of the air that comes in from here back into the burn chamber. The burn chamber comes apart with 4 screws. These are Torx screws. There's a gasket in between these 2 halves. Now you may recall when I was talking about why I bought one of these heaters instead of building one, it's because of this setup that's right here. The gasket isolates the burn chamber from where the heat, the hot air, comes from these fins. The good thing about that is it means I don't have to worry about combustion gases. That's carbon dioxide, more importantly carbon monoxide. So I don't have to worry about that getting into the greenhouse. Now I may go ahead and take this apart and you'll be able to see inside.
And there is my lizard. Let's see if I can get his picture. My little alligator lizard. He's a pretty decent sized one, actually. He's not the biggest ones we get around here. But there's my alligator lizard. He came out from under the shelf. He probably doesn't like the hammering I've been doing over here. Hi, lizard. Wish I knew what to do with you. Have a good winter. Eat a bug.
I'll need to take off the motherboard for this unit because the motherboard is attached to the inlet portion of the heater. This is the connector for the fan, which I also need to disconnect. There's 4 Torx-headed screws that hold it together. That is tight. Okay. I'm not going to loosen any of them up all the way until I have them all loosened. This is in on an angle which is not the recommended approach, but I don't want to take this fan off. Now sometimes you'll see pieces of the fan cut off. In fact, there's a little bit of a grind mark here. That's how they balance the fan at the factory. Now some of these have big chunks taken out because they're horribly misbalanced. This one doesn't have much taken out, which is good. Once I have all these screws loosened, then I can go ahead and feel comfortable taking them all the way out. Yeah, this is an aluminum case, so you have to be careful about warping the mating surfaces. And that's the last machine screw. So this fan blows air across the fins to heat the air in the room. This fan is blowing air down into the combustion chamber. The combustion chamber has a series of inlets around the edge. Diesel comes up this tube and is injected onto a screen that surrounds the glow plug. That breaks up the diesel fuel, kind of atomizing it. Now there's 4 screws to take the burn chamber out. I'm not going to do that because this gasket in here is quite sensitive. It's quite, actually, it can be quite delicate. It could break. And if it breaks, I don't want to have to wait to get another gasket. In here, it looks like a can. The burn chamber ends in here, and it circulates back to the outlet for the exhaust. That fan, this is a DC fan that's powered by the control board. Now the control board can speed the fan up, slow it down, depending on the needs of the heater. The higher the temperature you try to make the heater run, the faster the fan has to run.